Okay, so thank you for watching DevRelCon Tokyo 2021 interview sessions. Head of organizer of the conference. And in this time, I will introduce our awesome speakers and chat with them about their talk in 15 minutes. So today's guest is Matthew, who is organizer of the original DevRelCon London and San Francisco. And his work at Hoopy. So I'm welcome Matthews. Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. So thank you for attending. And I think you no 10 a.m. right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the early morning.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be part of DevRelCon Tokyo this year.
Thank you. So it's our first time online conference of DevRelCon Tokyo for me. So I'm excited about that. I also. Okay, so at first, could you please introduce yourself, Matthew? Because I know you, and maybe most of attendees know about you, but maybe there are so many first attendees in this year. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. Well, my name's Matthew, and I've been working in developer relations professionally for, I guess, 15 years now. And over the past five years or so, I've been working as a developer relations consultant through Hoopy, which basically means that I work with lots of different companies, helping them to work out their developer relations and developer marketing strategies. And actually, that work is what's led me to submit the talk that I did to DevRelCon Tokyo. But we can talk about that in a moment.
Okay, thank you. So, and I have some questions for you because I also working at the developer relations services like outsourcing, but I want to know um, what do you think about the current situation? Like currently, our working style is completely changing, and so what do you feel to change about developer relations or developer marketing in remote first era?
Well, I think there have been lots of predictions that conferences are over, that working from the office is finished and
Mm,
everything's going to be remote. But I actually think that 5 years time, everything will be more or less back to normal, unless there's some other pandemic comes along. Um, so I think that what we're seeing now is um, a reaction to the pandemic, but I think we will go back to something like what we were before. Already, people are organizing conferences in person. I think KubeCon in the United States is scheduled to be an in-person event, I believe,
mm,
later this year. And certainly there are other events that are planning to be in person this year. Um, but I think the short-term impact has been that people had a lot of budget
mm,
for events that suddenly they couldn't use.
mm,
And that was pushed into content. And so we've seen a lot more
mm,
content there. But I hope that one of the knock-on effects has been that people have had to be more thoughtful
mm,
about who they are targeting and what they're saying to them.
mm,
Um, there are only so many beginner level blog posts about JavaScript that the world needs,
mm,
without there being changes to JavaScript. So it's really crucial that the developer relations and developer marketing teams have a clear framework for understanding which developers they are targeting.
mm,
Um, because, when you go to a conference, you can kind of think, well, I know that people who use my technology are likely to be at these conferences. So that
mm,
kind of, in a way, that lets you do a very basic form of developer targeting
mm,
just by picking conferences. But when you can't go to conferences, then you have to start thinking about, well, okay, how do I write content that will be in the right places, say the right thing, be at the right level of sophistication, and so on for the
mm,
people that I need to reach. But also it makes you think about all the other things that developer relations should do. It's not just about content or conferences.
mm,
Um, so I think the pandemic has made things harder, but in a way, if there's a positive to come out of it, then
mm,
I think it has forced people in teams to be more strategic. They've
mm,
had to think more clearly about what they're doing.
mm. I see. So, in my client, so they said the pandemic is very bad situation, but sometimes they have opportunity to appeal their technology to the around the world because most of people using to the internet or stay in the homes. So, but they have just only Japanese branch office, Japanese headquarters, but they have they have no to approach to the other countries. But in this time, they can approach around the world by internet. So they have a good opportunity to spread their technology around the world. Yeah. So and one more questions. How about think about conference as organizers? So in this time, we have a lot of new challenges to spread the information about conference,
Mm.
like social medias, blog contents, or like a gaming or something. So, what do you think about what is your new challenges to organize the conference?
Well, I think you're right that it's hard to get the message out because online conferences are competing against every conference in the world. Whereas if you have a conference in a particular city, then it's a lot easier to find your audience. I think one of the biggest challenges is that finding the right tools to help you run an online conference. So I've been looking at a lot of different event platforms and so on. And I think for a relatively small event, say a few hundred people or a couple of thousand people, then I don't think there's a good events platform out there yet. Because, for DevRelCon and for DevRelCon Tokyo and elsewhere, we've used StreamYard, which has been good. And that's allowed us to connect straight into YouTube and Twitch. And then you can use Discord or Slack for the community side of, keeping things going. But a lot of these tools for running conferences want to give you the entire package.
I see.
And then charge quite high fees. And then when you stop paying the fees, you kind of lose your community because it's locked into this platform. And I think there are some tools that have solved genuine problems. So the one problem that I think you can't solve easily is the way that in a real conference you can meet people you wouldn't expect to meet. You meet new people and you make friendships and connections. And that's harder to do with an online conference because in a Slack, it's you don't make those random connections quite so easily. So there are some tools where they've tried to recreate the feeling of meeting people you wouldn't do otherwise. But again, I'm not sure that it's a solved problem. And I think the tools that I've seen are targeted at people who have really big budgets. And so I think for community events like ours, are the ones that we run, it's a lot harder to justify that kind of spend of several $1,000s a month for a tool that will, bring people together in that way.
Yeah. Like some services is very high, very expensive for us, so we can't use it in this time. I see. Okay, so we will move to the next topic about your talk. So could you talk about the abstract of your talk, please?
Yeah, sure. So my talk is going to be about building developer messaging frameworks. So this is really quite a developer marketing topic, really, but it feeds into everything that we do with a developer targeted product or project. And so what I want to do in the talk is present a repeatable way of coming up with the messaging for your product. So what do I mean by messaging? Primarily, this is about coming up with a set of, I guess the end result is a set of phrases and sentences and elevator pitch, all that kind of thing, that you can use repeatedly and consistently to describe your product. And you might think, well, I can know very well how to talk about my product without needing, a cheat sheet. But that's not what it's about. The end result is only, the tip of the iceberg. The real benefit of this process is in drilling down into what benefits your product gives and what problems it solves for the people who are most likely to use your product, and also to reach them at the points that they find themselves when they come to need your product. So what I mean is, not every developer who uses your product is necessarily going to be the one who says yes or no about using it in a project, but they might have influence. Or there might be some people who never use your product but are champions for it, and that kind of touches on the orbit model a little bit. So the point is really that when you're coming up with with developer messaging or any marketing messaging, what you want to do is really distill the ways that your product solves a problem for the people who are involved in making a decision for that product. So what we'll do in the talk is we'll go through a framework of understanding who your target developers are, understanding the different roles that they play at different stages in a technology decision-making funnel, if you want to call it that, or process. And then looking at how to create a document that can be used by you, your team, your colleagues throughout the company that gives you a consistent way of talking about the product to developers. And the key benefit here, like I say, is really about talking about the product in a way that resonates with developers for the problems that they have, not in a way that is necessarily the way that you've been doing it because it makes sense to you. So yeah, it's all about developer messaging.
I see. So I'm completely agree about that, because some marketers said our product something do that, but the developers doesn't care about that, because they want to know this product resolve their problem or not. So, but some marketers, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that, but it's don't care about that. Yeah. So messaging is very important.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that there are, for many products, there are different audiences. So what you would say to a non-technical decision maker is different to what you would say to a developer, for sure.
I see. And I think it's first product is very simple messaging. Maybe at first the product has a simple message, but some increasing, updating or something, so they have a lot of messaging, right?
I think one of the hard things is that you can fairly easily say, this is a search API, or this is a document database. But that only gives a very surface level view. And the way that I think about it is that it's very easy to do low resolution messaging. So, you don't go into any detail, but you just kind of say, this is what it does. But that doesn't actually distinguish it from all the other search APIs or all the other document databases. And in order to be able to really reach people and tell them something that means something to them, then you have to have a deep understanding of the way that they work and the problems that they face. And because a lot of the products that we work with in developer relations and developer marketing are very technical. They solve problems that most people don't even know are problems. And so it's really important to dive deep into what the product does and how it solves problems for people, because only then can you start to actually talk about it in a way that makes sense and allows you to compare it between the alternatives.
I see. So our interview session time is over, so I have to close in this interview session. Thank you for Matthews. I know you have a great career of developer relations and developer marketing. So I strongly recommend every developer marketers should listen your talk and learn about why messaging is important. And I hope you also will enjoy DevRelCon Tokyo 2021. You also please enjoy with us.
For sure, yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me. And yeah, I strongly recommend to everyone to come and take part in DevRelCon Tokyo 2021.
Okay, thank you. So today's interview is done. So again, our conference, DevRelCon Tokyo 2021, will be held on the June 5th. So everyone save the date and waiting the day. Okay, everyone, see you next interview. Bye.